EPI is an idea for a more general purpose reasoning assistant in a writing context, usually like a research or nonfiction writing context. So let's say I kind of have my blank page here, right, and it says to start writing. So I start writing some stuff, and here I'm writing about the United States public transport system and like why it doesn't work very well. And let's say I kind of want some help fleshing out this idea. So let's say I highlight this line here, this one that says this lack of public transportation has led to worse health outcomes for the nation. And then I do something very familiar. I just do a little right click and I get my context menu. Like these are very familiar to us. These are usually copy and print and whatever. But here I have options that are a little bit more language model shaped, right? They can kind of do more to my text. So I can find evidence, I can say more, critique this, rephrase, and then identify assumptions. So I'm going to try clicking on that one. And the language model goes and loads for a minute, and then it comes back with a set of 3 possible assumptions that support this statement about this lack of public transportation leading to worse health outcomes. Right, so to make this statement, we have to have made the assumption that there is a lack of public transportation, that it has an outsized effect on health outcomes, and that there's a correlation between public transport and health outcomes. These assumptions were all generated by ChatGPT or GPT 3.5, so these are real language model answers. So let's say this one looks good to me, right? Like this is a pretty straightforward statement, right? There's lack of public transport. But what I want to be able to do here in this kind of system is recursively use that same functionality. So let's say I highlight this line, and then I can do that same move. I can right click and I get my little context menu, and then I can do all those same things again to this assumption statement. So let's say I want to find evidence for this, right? Like, is this actually true? So let's click on find evidence, right? And our language model went off and then found a bunch of like articles from the web and scientific papers and journals with some statements that actually would support this assumption. So I should diligently, obviously, be like reading this PDF and viewing this article. The interface should actually make that a lot easier. This is a very flawed, quick mock-up. But let's say I've read this PDF, right? I see there's genuine evidence for this. So I want to add this in to kind of support my argument. So I click add, right, and we do some loading, and then we can see here it brings in like a quote from that paper, a 2016 report in economics found, blah, 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 and then adds that citation in. So that looks good. So I now want to add this back to my main writing piece I've got up here. So let's say I click add, right, and we do the loading thing again. And then it's rewritten this to have integrated it in. I've also now added this little history tracker on the sidebar because I want to be able to go back and see what I had before, right? So before I just kind of had some basic sentences. And after, from the beginning, it's rewritten this whole thing to first state the assumption I had said, and then add in the citation and the quote with evidence, and then the rest of the things I had written, and kind of rephrase things so this all makes a bit more coherent sense. So again, I did get a real language model to write this. This is like a simple Figma mockup, but kind of speaks to some of what's possible with these models.